Hello everyone, well we're live from the bathtub of the ether of an alternative better reality. Well, let me tell you something. What if I tell you that from here to 500 years things could be utterly different? Absolutely different. Let's put it this way. Let me create an alternative reality that can actually happen. We don't know if it will, but it's certainly cool. Let me tell you how. For example, let's see if we have some crazy effects here. Let me see. Yeah, that's interesting. Crush. What is this? Whoa, I like this one better. Or this one, or this one, or this one. Let's go black and white. Things don't have to be black and white. There's many grays in the middle, but of course, there are many things that you can do that can bring a better today, not just tomorrow. Let me put it this way. You can be very concerned about what the future might bring, but mate, let's be honest, you're not going to be in the search for more than 100 years, although I wish I, or any single one of us, to at least perceive good ones, can actually be. Saying this means that I would love to see the changes that will come, because it's great to hope for a better tomorrow, but it's really desperate to know that we might not be there to see it. Well, let me put it this way. Hypothetical situation. In 500 years, there's a class of kids that are around, say, 10 years old. We can go with 11 or 12 if you want. In that class, the technological advancements are marvelous. Well, not beyond our imagination, because we have broad imagination, but yes, we can say that it is a better tomorrow. The John Lennon anthem, Imagine, is no longer something that people sing in Madison Square Garden every beginning of a new year, about New Year's Eve. It's actually a reality. No more countries, no more religions, no more things that will divide humans in ghettos. So the class of the day for those kids from the year 2522, let's put it that way, so we go about exactly 500 years from now, is about the primitive human being. That primitive human being is someone that has come way after what we consider the primitive human or Homo sapiens. They're talking about us human beings from the year 2022, which does not differ much if you think about it from that one of 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, which by the way, we're still there now. But I will go again to 2500. Here we go. Okay, I'm in the year 2500 now, 2522, and a class of kids are studying what we are. They see wars, they see people fighting against each other, arguing about religion versus science, science versus religion, thinking that any given day could be the end of times, as it has been happening for quite a while, if you think about it, throughout the history of our wretched yet hopeful, I'll say, we still have to keep that human species. No races, remember. The only race when it comes to human is a human race, different ethnicities, but we all have 5 bloody fingers. A little bit more when it comes down there, and of course, in common, that is. Of course, one nose, 2 eyes, a mouth, and the ability to talk and reason. A curse and a blessing at the same time. So to see all they see, these kids from the year 2522, all the craziness, all the madness going on, political fights, the gaps, the divisions, the wars that shows that that primitive man from 2022 have never learned nothing at all, or at least the most valuable lessons. And instead of going desperate and cry and feel sad or sorry for ourselves, they see the primitive man for ourselves, for those from 2022. They see these kids, the primitive man, and something laughable, ridiculous, and they start becoming facetious. They start making jokes, and they laugh their asses off by watching all this film material that they have from the early times of the third millennium. Of course, they had left everything behind. Everything that was really bad, that was really ridiculous, that really made us the worst of the worst. And now they go back home and they talk to their parents and they say, Mom, Dad, Mummy, Daddy, you know what we did today at school? We were talking about the primitive man from the beginning or from the early third millennium. As it happened more than 500 or 522 years ago, human beings were so ridiculous that they had several divisions. They thought of themselves as people from different races. They called in a place what used to be the American continent, those who were originary from there, somehow, because nobody's really original from nowhere, we all been moving and migrating all the time. Here comes the social anthropologist out of me. They thought about them as people that once were called Indians, and they kept on calling them Indians. Although it has been proven that such thing was a mistake made by Christopher Columbus, who really never knew that he arrived to a new continent. He wasn't the Americans yet. Remember that happened later on in the 1500s when Waldemüller, German cartographist, actually named first what is now known as Brazil, America. That eventually was trespassed to the rest of the continent. Brazil was the full amount of the Portuguese colonies, and the way that Canada did, well, in different ways, but without really an independence or emancipation war, they became the Empire of Brazil and eventually the Brazilian country or republic. No kings, no monarchs. That's another thing that makes them laugh. They say, in the early third millennium, people still had monarchs. They thought that there were people that were special enough that they had to be queens and kings, and they had to be held at a higher place, regard and esteem. They were supposedly the heirs of divine power, or something like that. Those people were nominal rulers, were more a thing of peasantry in the early third millennium, unlike what happens probably 1,000 years, 2,000 years more, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6,000 years before the third millennium. But in the early times of the third millennium, not too long ago, if you can see the universal and world time frames, they were still revering monarchs. There was a queen who passed away in 2022, who was by many considered the queen of the world, that she reigned for over 70 years. One of the longest reigning persons, just surpassed by Louis XIV of France, many centuries or some centuries before. But believe it or not, Dad, believe it or not, Mom, they kept revering people, holding people in high esteem. They had idols. They thought that pop stars were somehow special people above anyone else, that public figures were kind of elements that could be worshipped, and they kept on calling them as if they were sacred beings. Well, they cling to religions, they cling to political ideas, they have ideals and dogmas that they could not overcome, and that eventually had to come to an end. In a matter of 200 years, all of that ended. Countries got diluted, the concept of countries and nations. The economy became more equal. Not that everybody had to be the same or equal, because we are all different, but the possibilities were there for everyone. And eventually we became what we are now in the year 2500. 22. We have all the same possibilities. We live in a world that is interconnected. We travel at ease to take a spaceship or a plane from point A to point B, C, or E or D is actually way easier. Back in the day, they had to pay a lot, and they had to rely, and that's why they had to pay a lot, still in gas. Fossil combustible. Fossil fuel. Extracted from creatures that have disappeared 165 million, no, I'm sorry, 65 or over 65 million years ago, or so science said back then. Now we know that it was a little bit less than that, but again, I'm speculating. Remember, it's the year 2522. But people wanted to keep on relying on that. Look at us now. We transform water into energy. We use the energy of the sun more wisely. We actually respect each other. And for a human, there is a concept of understanding that all living things that surrounds us, even those who serve us for us to feed ourselves, to move forward, to get energy, fuel, to create, to elaborate things, are not sacred, they're just necessary. We understand that the concept of sacred comes from myth. The same way that back in the day, they created things based on myths. In the early times of the human beings, kings were created or rose from legends or from ideas that things should be one way or another. The Hammurabi Code in the year 1300 approximately, I think it was, 14 or 1300 before Christ, was a harsh law code of laws to regulate humans because we cannot regulate ourselves. Well, in the 2500s, people had learned how to regulate themselves. And what happens is that by doing that, they live way better, they live longer, they prosper, and they can move forward towards always creating a better world. They understand the concept of living a better world for the future generations, knowing that our natural time on earth is something that we have to cherish and value, because for sure, and by proof and evidence, is what we have. And of course, we all want to think that we're going to transcend and we're going to keep on being, not in our bodies, but somehow in the ether or in another dimension present, or that we will have the chance to come back. But the truth is that we don't know. In the year 2522, for people to say, I don't know, bears a positive burden, I would say. It's the concept that many philosophers of the ancient world actually hold as a truth. That they know that they don't know nothing. They know that they know nothing. Because you, by that, keep on discovering. The concept, initial concept of science of also, in our ancient times, Homo ignoramus, the man or the human that ignores. It's based upon the fact that because we ignore, we got to keep on discovering and on finding ways to become better, to be better beings, to be better humans, not to be more humans. Because being more humans can be being more of what we have mostly been, horrible. We have to bring the good traits of humanity and push them all the way to the next level while trying to eliminate all of the bad human traits. Oh, I came back to 2022, but after all, I am a Homo ignoramus, and I am somehow, not that I look like, or not that I just look like, but I also am one of those primitive human beings. The kids from the year 2522 will laugh at in school when they studied us as the primitive creatures that we surely are going to be for them. The lesson of this is that, of this podcast, of this video, this live video, that will be there for you to see whenever you want. Hopefully those kids from 2522 and beyond that one day we'll be able to do so. And if I am in the ether or around or in somehow form, shape or way around the universe, around this world or around the evolved world, if that happens, I'm going to be very satisfied and happy to know that humans actually got to get to the point of being better humans. We have to do that. We have to embrace the ideas of giving those who are underprivileged proper opportunities for them to come out of it. We have to be able to think that in 2522, the kids will think about the miseries of poverty, the disgraces of suffering because of financial turmoil, because of diseases that could be prevented, because of repression of dogmas, futile, narrow views of the humans of the early third millennium. By then, they should already, all those things, be extinguished. Of course, it's hard to think that that will happen, but one can only hope. And hope aiming high is what I do. Because hope, if it is only hope, it's a terrible thing. Wow, hope. Yes, I know, you hear politicians using that term, but just think about it, mate. If you only hope and you can never bring things to reality, hope will actually bring you down to the depths of despair. Because how do you keep on hoping when nothing truly good, what we need to perceive as human advancement for the best of our species, actually happens? Well, thank you all for watching. I am going to come back soon from the depths of the alternative world, the bathtub that holds me in the depths of the alternative world, and announcing here that very soon my Antihuman manifesto, despite the title, ironically a book that might help us push our species forward towards a better tomorrow that could come sooner than later, is going to be out in the markets, libraries, and the different new and modern platforms for you to buy. Why is that? I want to share that with you because I want to trigger the spark of new thoughts or old thoughts or people being involved. This will be my try. But I try because I want to do. Because as Master Yoda said in The Empire Comes Back, The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, try not, do. Well, to do you have to try. Mr. Yoda, I'm afraid, I have to mention this. And that, movie-wise speaking, you may be or wise and powerful, but in real life, you do when you try, and you try because you want to do. So soon we're going to come and keep on moving forward with more anti-human manifesto thoughts until the book, hopefully very soon, is out there for you to read and for you to join that movement that I just decided to create, the Anti-Human Manifesto movement, and what moves forward to be the human experience. Thank you for watching. I'm Marcelo Palermo Fanchalke. This is epic news from the bathtubs of the ethereal way beyond.